Hello, and welcome to another episode of Dropping into Happiness. We are episode 13 today.
Lucky 13.
I know.
Yes.
I know. It's wild. Every time when I'm doing like our notes and stuff, I'm like, holy cow, we're on this many? Like, it's just, I'm loving it so much. I feel like there's always so much to talk about, and it's just been really fun to start hearing too from followers and listeners, and really starting to get very interactive with everybody. So it's really, really fun. Welcome everybody. Today we're actually going to talk about, I feel like this is a very fun topic because I'm such a list maker and a planner, and I have planners and calendars all over my house. We're talking about goals and kind of how we set our goals. And I don't know if anybody else wants to do this, but every time I think of it, I just want to go, goals. Like, I really do.
Yes. I want to be like, I got goals. Yes.
I know. I think it's a fun one. We're going to really talk about how we lay them out, how we break them down, what do we prefer, what works for us, and just kind of share our process with everybody. So hopefully it can inspire someone, give somebody an idea, something that could spark a great goal idea for you. So, little bit of announcement. We always like to remind everybody that the merch store is open. If you head on over to our Instagram, Dropping into Happiness Pod, at the very top, there's that Linktree link, and it will take you to all the things, our website, our merch store, all of those fun things. If you guys ever have any questions for us, if you want to reach out, we always have our email, droppingintohappiness@gmail.com, or you can do it through the Instagram as well. We actually get a lot of messages through Instagram. That's fun. Maggie and I both check that. So, all right, and I always want to make sure I let you guys know that we are always asking for your mantras and your quotes. We have what we like to end, our podcast every single week with them. And I apologize. Ariel didn't tell me until after we were stopped recording the other day that I said workshop, that I want to end the workshop with the quote. And I was like,
yeah.
Oops.
We just let it slide. By the way, Rachel, should we introduce ourselves for any first-time listeners in case they don't know us?
Yeah. Okay, so just a little blurb about us. Do you want to start?
Yeah, I'm Maggie, and this is Rachel.
Yeah.
We usually say that. I think we skipped. Yeah, I think we skipped that part. We were just like dove in. I was like, oh.
Wait a minute. Who are we? Missed it.
Go back and listen to episode 1 if you find yourself listening to us for the first time. We go fully in depth on that episode. But yeah, we're very excited. And, this is real life. We have slips of words. We jump forward in the scripts.
Get very excited about things, okay?
Yeah.
I get very excited. I just want to jump into things.
Wow! Goals!
Jumping into those goals. Oh my gosh. Okay. All right. Well, now let's move forward into the workshop. Wait, no. So I am Rachel. She's Maggie. Let's move forward. Did you just
say workshop again?
I did. It's just wedged in my brain. I think I'm on workshop so often on camera. That's immediately what my brain thinks I'm doing. But it's not. It's the podcast. I apologize. Okay.
This is real. Okay.
I know. Okay. For real now. Okay, we're talking goals today. Okay, Maggie, when it comes to your goals, do you have a preference on how you set your goals? Do you like daily, weekly, monthly? Like, how do you like to lay them out and look forward towards your goals?
In terms of overall health and wellness goals, I find myself most successful by setting weekly goals.
Okay.
However, for bigger activity-related goals, I go months out. So, for example, if I'm working towards a half marathon, full marathon, personal record, Orange Theory dry try, those are kind of more long-term goals and commitments, whereas just habits, I break them down weekly, and then depending upon where I am in my mindset, daily. I get overwhelmed with month-long intentions, or they're not relevant enough in the moment for me to stick with it. Whereas if I break it down into the smaller steps or chunks, I feel like I focus in a lot more.
Even your big ones, I feel like, because I know I've done that too. Like, even if you have that bigger one, like training for that half marathon or whatever, like even then your weeklies kind of zone in too, don't they? And like kind of take you like in a step towards that bigger one.
Right. Yeah. The week by week plan really helps to break those bigger benchmarks down. So they all are helpful.
Oh yeah. I love all of them. When I was writing out my notes, I was like daily, weekly, monthly. Yes. Yes to all of them.
Mm-hmm.
I like lists. I like writing things down. I even brought my notebook. So, I mean, I broke it down. We've talked about the pillars before.
Mm-hmm.
That we like to focus on our wellness journey: food, activity, sleep, and mindset. I actually broke down my goals. Again, I'm going to shut this on camera for those who are on YouTube. So I even
Look
break
at
them
that.
down. Like, these are my food goals. These are like overall ones. So I make, overall activity goals, overall mindset goals for kind of the year laid out. And then I break it down by month. And it's funny because I feel like sometimes when people think about goals, they think, because honestly, it's funny. I don't have any weight related goals now that I just realized. Not one of these is a weight related goal. It's like read a book, try a new activity class, meet up with my girlfriends. Like squat 80 pounds. Like all of them are yeah, I just realized that.
So would you consider a weight related goal like X amount of pounds for the month, or
You know,
I want to be in this decade, or what do you consider a weight loss related goal?
when I start, okay, I was starting to tell you this earlier. So when it comes to goals and everything, I used to hate setting goals because I was that person who was like, I'm gonna, like, from zero, it was like, I'm gonna go to the gym 6 days this week at 5 a.m. and I'm never gonna have a slice of pizza again. And that's just not who I am. I truly don't like getting up at 5 a.m. in the morning, and I love me some pizza. So, like, I would make very, very unattainable goals and then be super mad at myself or feel very like I'm just never going to do this. I can't figure this out because I wouldn't reach them.
Mm.
And, but as we've been doing, WW and kind of learning how to break my goals down, I think has been a lot easier. And so this last time, because I've mentioned before, this was not the first time I did WW. It's not the first time I did any kind of, weight loss. I tried to count calories. I tried to do keto, and those things were not sustainable for me. And,
Mm-hmm.
but when it got to WW, that was for the first time when I was like, okay, this is how much I want to lose, but I didn't give myself an end date. So I had a goal. Like, that's
Mm-hmm.
probably the only goal that I make that I won't give myself an end date, because I don't know what my body's going to do. I could
Right.
do all of the right things, all the good things, all of these amazing goals that I have set myself, and I still won't hit a weight goal. So I like to celebrate these other ones and just kind of let my weight goal get there when it gets there.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the only one I don't give an end date to.
Yeah, I'm with you, Rachel, because here's the thing, all friends listening in, we cannot control the scale. You
Mm-mm.
can't. You can't. You can't control how fast it goes, how slow it goes, what direction it goes. So it can be very frustrating to put your heart and soul into something that you have no control over. However, you can control how much water you drink in a
Mm-hmm.
day or in a week, how much activity you get in, if you track your food or don't track your food. Those are things that are within your control, and it feels really good to focus on the things that you control. So I stopped setting weight goals in terms of X amount of pounds this week or X
Yeah,
amount of
me
pounds by
too.
this day, because nothing is more discouraging than when you've put in so much effort and by nothing of your own doing you don't hit that goal, and it takes away so much of what you could celebrate.
Yes.
Like, I remember I had this goal of Wonderland by Halloween. It was the first October 2020 it would have
Mm-hmm.
been. And I was so close, and I was like, I'm gonna get there, I'm gonna get there, and I didn't make it. But I made it by November, right? And I just think about how frustrated I felt, even though I was doing so many things well. So at that point,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, enough is enough. I don't set goals related to weight anymore, other than, yes, I have this is my goal weight that I have in mind. But like Rachel
Yeah.
was saying, I don't have a deadline.
Yeah.
And every week, Rachel, you and I share our star goals, and we
Mm-hmm.
might have broken it down in the first or second episode, but it's specific, truly doable, actionable, and relevant. So again, the key part to, I think, setting successful goals is making sure that it's something you can actively do.
Mm-hmm.
Like actively drinking water, actively squatting 80 pounds, actively going to a workshop, whatever that goal is, it's something within your control. That's so important.
Definitely. And I know that's always in the back of my mind because, like you said, it is something we talk about within the WW workshops is that STAR goal. And I know, like I said, just doing WW this last time was different for me. I didn't set that weight goal, but having that STAR goal principle in my mind, I think always is very helpful. And I think that's why I break them down the way I do now. And I love it so much. And you know what? I love to. So I'm in our workshops, Maggie and I both, but we started around the same time with WW Hunt. So we've been doing it almost a year and a half now as virtual coaches.
Oh, yes, yes.
And I remember during the holidays, I was really anticipating to hear a lot of negative Nellies. And I think I said that, like, I was really worried that people were going to be like, oh, well, I wanted to lose this much this month and I didn't hit it. Because first of all, holidays are rough in general. But not once did I hear that. Because everybody was so focused on, oh, I walked away from that second serving, or I still had all of my water. I can't believe all the steps I got today. And I'm so jazzed that that's where a lot of us are taking our journey. And we're focusing, like you said, the things we can't control. Even within the app on WW, we have these things called 5-minute coachings. And there's one called Focus on what you can control, specifically for that reason. And like, whenever I hear somebody be down on themselves that they didn't hit a certain weight loss number by a certain time, I always try to be like, what can we celebrate today? There's always something to celebrate. And I've heard people tell me like, oh, well, that goal seems too little. I know I can hit that.
Great.
I know. I'm like, why would you not want to shoot for that then? Like, you know what I mean? I feel like sometimes we feel like we have to challenge ourselves every time with a goal, and we don't. We can set those little goals. Like I said, I tried to go from 0 to 60, but it's okay to go from 0 to 2. You know, like it's okay to take those much smaller steps with our goals.
That's so true. In Orange Theory, we spend time on the treadmill and we have, the speed and the incline are different ways we could push ourselves. And the coach will say, even just 0.1, going from 5 miles per hour to 5.1, that's a change from 1% incline to 2% incline. That's a change. And those little steps, they make such a big impact over time. The key is you have to celebrate them. Yeah. That's what helps really build momentum. You can't just go on autopilot and let yourself accomplish all these fabulous things and not take the time to really acknowledge it. I was thinking through my past week. I had a rough week, family, health things, and just stuff that fell out of my control on top of everything that's going on in the world. And, it can feel like, okay, sometimes just showing up is something to celebrate, and just me following through with my normal routine, going to my group fitness class, getting there on time. You got to stop and be like, I did that. I showed up when I could have just sat at home upset or concerned or worried. Like, I took that time for myself. So not only is it setting the small goal, but then achieving it and celebrating yourself and not being afraid to celebrate yourself. That is what makes a big difference.
I think, right? Because like I said, sometimes when people are like, oh, well, that's just so little. I'm like, there is no win too small. In any way. There's no win too small in my book. No way. I even had this one member recently, just every week was struggling. She's like, I'm still doing my nighttime snacking. I'm still doing all these things. And she was so down on herself. And I was like, well, wait a minute. I was like, what was your goal this week? She's like, well, to meal prep. I'm like, did you? And she's like, well, yeah. Right. Okay, so we should be celebrating right now. Yes. And she's like, but I still snacked in the evening. That wasn't the goal. Our goal was not to stop evening snacking. Our goal was to meal prep. And we did that. Yeah. That is the step that we're focusing on this week. So, I mean, like I said, we talk about those 4 pillars. And sometimes I feel like people feel like they need to make one for all of them. Like, oh, I need to have all these big goals. Guys, goals can be as small or as minimal as you need them to be. And that's still a good goal to set. I always want to say that to people. No matter how small you think your goal is, that's still a good goal to shoot for.
Yeah. We could, just kind of break it down in this idea of, tracking is really important on WW. And there's so many different goals you could set just around tracking your food alone. So you think, I hear myself included say, my goal this week is to track everything. Okay, we get through the whole week, we tracked most of the things, but not everything. Maybe it's time to adjust the goal, make it even more doable. I'm going to track all of my breakfasts, right? One thing leads to another. I tracked all my breakfasts and a lot of my lunches, right? Yeah. It's okay, like if you set a goal that you think is attainable, you get to the end of the week or the end of the day, end of the month, and you notice that we didn't quite hit the mark, it's okay to adjust. You don't have to
Yeah.
keep setting the same goal over and over and over again, right? Just hopes that, okay, one day I'm going to get there. You can
Yeah.
tailor the goal, tailor it back, then build to move forward. Shout out to
Mhm.
my mom. She's working towards a big goal, which I'll keep under wraps
Yeah.
until it's official. But, you know, we're starting off with 5-minute walks. 5-minute walks a day, because she had started with 15 and it was hard to get into that routine. You know, it worked
Yeah.
for a week or so, and then because we didn't build it up over time. So now we're starting with 5. Next week she's going to push for 6, right?
Mhm.
And just kind of build from there. And if we're not successful with 6, then we'll readjust again and maybe do a couple of 5s and a couple of 6s, right?
Yes.
There's so many different ways that you could tailor your goals,
Oh
and
yeah.
adjust them as you need. You don't have, I mean, you're the one that creates the goals,
Yes.
so you're the
Focus
one
on
that
what
can
you can
adjust
control.
them. Yes, you can adjust them.
And I mean, that's funny. When we talked about, I think it was episode 3, maybe, on how we started with activity, I had to do the same thing because obviously I was over 100 pounds heavier than I am now. I could get to the end of my block before my body started to hurt. So that's all I would do is I'd go to the end of the block, to the corner, and I'd come back until that started to feel comfortable. And then I went just a little bit further, and then I'd come back, and I'd go a little bit further. Like, it's okay to just step those up. But Maggie, so I have a question for you though. So when it comes to setting our goals, how do you remember them? Like, do you post them somewhere? Are you a Post-it girl? Are you how do you keep them? Are you visual? How do you
Yeah,
keep them top of mind?
I go back and forth. It just kind of depends upon where my mindset is at, what kind of goals I'm setting. I'm a post-it note girl, so
Yeah.
I like to jot things down on post-it notes and keep them at my desk. I also will share my goals occasionally on social media for extra
Mm-hmm.
accountability and support. But a lot of my goals are wash, rinse, repeat. Like tracking all my food, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like I've been doing this for 2 years, and that's still something that I'm working on because
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't tracking my food for 26 years of my life,
Yeah.
right? So it's okay. Like we've talked about, you know, when Rachel and I have set our star goals here in podcasts in the past, it's okay to have goals on repeat. Some of them are just ingrained in my heart. This is something that you're intentionally working on.
Yeah.
So, and Rachel knows, we joke all the time, I'm very type B, very go with the flow, and everything's all in here.
Yeah.
So if I really feel like, okay, I got to get anchored in, then it's time to write it down, and make it concrete. But otherwise, I'm a wash and rinse, repeat kind of girl.
Well, and that's funny you say that because, like, I'm on maintenance / sometimes I need to lose because I get a little loosey goosey. But yeah, like tracking my weekends and tracking all my things, like that is still kind of like a default goal for me as usually. Like, right, that's always kind of in the back of my mind. But things that I want to work on, I'm a very, very visual person. So I mean, I have Post-its too. I'm like you can see a little Post-it on my papers right here. I'm a Post-it girl too. However, probably my favorite way to put my goals, and I've said this before, and we're actually, I don't have one near me. I love writing my goals on mirrors.
Yeah, that's fun.
My bedroom closet is a huge mirror, and dry erase markers wipe off of a mirror exactly the way they do a whiteboard. So I'd got all of the colors, and I would when it came to my weight goals, like I said, I never had an end date. Like, oh, this is the end all be all. I have to be done by this day. No, I would just put the next one up there. Like, cool, this is the next number I want to see. No end date. But once until I got there, like I would see that, like, yes, that's what I'm shooting for. That's what I'm shooting for. And then once I hit it, boom, I'd wipe it off and I'd put a new one. And usually it was in like about 5-pound increments. So every 5 pounds, I would celebrate. No matter how long that 5 took me, I would absolutely celebrate. But I'm also like even if it's my step goal or things like that, or things I want to do, I love writing them down and having them visually. I've even put them on your screen, your lock screen on your phone. I've done those too. I think that's kind of fun to have them there. But yeah, I'm a very visual. I like to see them. I want them out. I want to be able to see them every day and just have it kind of in the back of my mind at all times kind of thing. Cause I'm a very, out of sight, out of mind.
And I mean, if you don't see it, it's like, it's not happening.
And that works for some things, like the cookies. Like if the cookies are up in the high cabinet, I usually forget we have them. right? So
Yeah.
I'm like, that it works for those things, but not when it comes to my goals. So I need to
You
see
know,
them, see them.
I have a letterboard. This is like a confessional moment. I have a letterboard that when I was really rocking and rolling with the scale, like it was moving and grooving, I was updating that letterboard. Like first it was like X amount of pounds until
Yeah.
Wonderland. Once I got to Wonderland, I was like X amount of pounds till goal, and it was so motivating for a long time. But then when the scale stopped,
Mm.
and then I just kept seeing that stupid letterboard, you know? I was like, so one day I was like, I don't know, we moved in October, and I'm like,
Hmm.
where is that letterboard? I know I still have it, but I'm like, maybe it's time to whip it out again and just see
Yeah.
if that makes a difference to have the visual there of like you said, like not putting a timeline on it, but just like this is where we're at.
Yeah.
That could be fun. I wish I knew where it was to show y'all, but letterboards you can get them at a lot of
I know.
different
Is it the
like
kind that has like the
craft
backlit?
stores. Yeah, well, mine was like a foamy material, and you just stuck the letters on there like in
Oh,
between the
fun.
slots. But yeah, they have fun ones that light up, and they have all kinds. I mean,
I
you can
know.
get
I
them
always
at
want
like
one of the light boxy ones, but I'm like, I don't even know what I would use it for. I just want it.
yeah. Well, you're so visual. I'm sure you
I
could come
know.
up with
Maybe I should
a
use
goal
that.
or something to put on there.
Right? I know,
Yeah.
because my goal, especially being more in a maintenance mode, my goals are very different these days. Because I haven't set a weight goal in probably almost a year
Hmm.
at all. I just haven't. I mean, obviously, I'm like, I kind of want to stay within a window because, trying to be in maintenance mode, like you have that balancing act. But it's not been, yeah, for so long, it was so funny because for so long, especially when you're in weight loss mentality, that's typically one of your big goals is a number of the scale.
Hmm.
And now that it's not, it's a little weird, but I feel like it can get a lot more fun. I feel like my goals get a lot more creative now that I'm not thinking about the number. And like I said, I didn't even realize that every month, all of these goals, because I have all these big goals that like I said, and it's like read a book,
Hmm.
do a different exercise class, go see a friend, it's things like that. And not one of them was a weight goal. And I just never really, and we're 4 months into the year now, going into 4 months of the year, and I didn't even realize that I've never set a weight goal this year. And
Yeah.
that's very liberating, like, because obviously I'm still at a healthy weight. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like,
Right.
not focusing on the number on the scale is not changing that. I'm still at a good weight. I'm still, even though I'm not concerned about it anymore. And that's a very, very different way of thinking for me. And I think it took a long time to get there, but setting these goals and right. And us talking about celebrating all the other things,
Right.
celebrate all the other things. Like even one of my goals is making sure like I start winding down at 9 o'clock at night. I even had to make myself a rule because I love our podcast. I love all the creative things we get to do. And I'm always working on it. Like there's always things in my brain. And so I had to tell myself at 9 o'clock at night, I have to stop. I
Bedtime.
know. I just have to. And usually I'll turn it off and I'll go sit and watch TV with my husband for a little bit, or I go wash my face and start. I'm rereading. I think I've said this more than once. I'm rereading all the Harry Potters. So I'll go grab my book, but I have to stop at 9 o'clock. So that's one of my goals is my sleep goals. And, we've talked about those too. So yay.
Yeah, it's interesting as we've been having this conversation, I've been thinking about all the things that I do feel like I am working on or working towards, but I just haven't solidified as this is an intentional goal of mine. Like,
Yeah.
limiting my screen time at night or reading more books than scrolling on my phone or, I mean, there's just so many things. Like I even made I was like, wear more sunscreen. If y'all are watching me on YouTube, I have a sunburn, right? I mean, it's just like little things where I'm like, oh yeah, I would like to do that, or I would like to do this more, and maybe taking the time to just get all of those out, written down, just so I could have a visual, and then kind of scale back. Okay, like which one could I focus on this week aside from just tracking my food? I think could be really helpful. I do want to mention, it's not a part of my recommendations because I don't have it yet, but something that ties into our conversation today that I'm excited about is there's a woman-owned small business called the Daily Grind Planner, and it's a fully customized bullet journal.
Ooh.
And they reached out to me asking if I would be interested in trying out their journal. And so they're sending it to me, and I'm excited because
Yay.
having had this conversation, I'm like, you know what, I think I could use a little bit more of a brain dump kind of moment with my
Yeah.
goal setting and just kind of getting things out there and setting intentions for the day. I think just having a couple of things, like we said, focusing on what we can control every day, then celebrating those things can be
Well,
so
you know what else?
wonderful.
I think that we haven't even tapped on is evaluating your goals. I mean, you kind of said that, like, if it's something that's you're not hitting, like on my goals, I said, so I'm once again for you YouTubers, I have my month, and then I have a month recap. So I look back at that. What did I do? What did I reach? Is there something I need to adjust? And I look at that because it's not it's not that I would fail at anything, but right, we step back, we recalibrate, we relook at, we readjust, and that's that moment that I do that, and then looking forward to my next month, like cool, like maybe I do step back a little bit on this goal, or maybe I do up this one just a little bit, and it just there's no win or lose. There's just learning and living and growing every day.
Yes, put that on a coffee mug. Put that on a tote bag. That's great.
Oh my gosh. Well, we are getting pretty far into our time, so let's get into. I do have a quote for this week. This one did not come from a listener, actually. This one I found this one because remember a couple weeks ago, a listener had told us a quote, and it was from an author named Greg Reed. And I think when I was researching him, I found this one, and it was just. It 100% fit for this week's topic. And I believe you've heard this one too. Because after I say it, you're going to be like, yeah, I think I've heard that one. Or some variation of it. So this week's quote is, "A dream written down with a date becomes a goal. A goal broken down into steps becomes a plan. A plan backed by actions makes your dreams come true."
I love that.
I know, Greg Reed. And it's just what we talk about every single time, having this idea, but writing it down, setting down the steps of action plans and just following your steps. Like it doesn't, like we have to have an idea, but then we got to be able to break that down and then make actionable steps for it to make our dreams come true. Absolutely. I know. I was just like, that's so perfect for this week.
Magic. Dreams. So on brand. Okay.
I know. So I really love that one. So I wanted to share that one. Like I said, Greg Reed, I'll put that up on our Instagram this week too. But so on to our star goals and recommendations. So my star goal. So I showed you guys how I lay mine out, and I need to lay out my Aprils. So my star goal for this week is to lay out April for myself. So I'm going to write down all of my April goals, kind of reevaluate what I've done the last few months, see if there's anything I want to increase, something new I want to try. And I'm going to write out all of my April goals so I can get that all ready and set and reevaluate March now. Go back through, see what I did, what I didn't do, maybe if there's something I want to reach in April. So that's my star goal for this week. You know what? Accountability. I will take a picture of that when I'm done and I'll post it to our Instagram so I can say, I did this. Yep, it's done. I did it. And then my recommendation for the listeners is to get creative with your goals, right? I mean, we say you can have those defaults. I want to make sure I do this. I want to make sure I do that. But it doesn't have to be so cut and dry. Find things that make you excited to set your goals. I mean, you saw I got stickers and different colored pens. And like I had this one member who every single 5 pounds that she lost, she would like buy herself something. Whether it was like a nail polish or,
right.
You know what I mean? Something, it could be a magazine. But celebrate and find something that excites you about your goals. So that's my recommendation this week.
That reminds me of a quote that we had in our workshop notes a few weeks ago. I don't remember who said it, but it was like, set a goal that makes you jump out of bed in the morning.
Yes,
that's what
that
reminds me of. So my recommendation is a book by James Clear called Atomic Habits. And I'm not finished with it yet, but I started it this week. And it is really great. And it ties very well into the idea that we touched on today, breaking down the things into small steps. So it's a self-improvement book. A lot of folks have already heard about it and rave about it. But if you haven't listened or read it yet, I really encourage you to check that out. And then my goal, well, it was, and it is still, to complete the Top Tracker Challenge in the app. But with this conversation and Rachel sharing her accountability, when my daily grind planner comes in the mail, I will spend time looking at my April, and I will post my April on the Instagram as well. So there you have it.
I'm
Inspired.
excited for that planner. I want to see it because, I mean, obviously I love notebooks and planners and all things organization.
And I like the idea of the bullet because it's free thoughts. So I think, I won't feel confined to any particular format. So it should be cool.
Right. And especially, and even if maybe you're like, oh, I can't really afford a new planner, grab a 99-cent like spiral binder from Walmart and you
notebooks, y'all.
That's make your own, right amount like that. Like the one I have here, this is actually from the WW shop, the Inhale Exhale, but I made it my own. I added my little Harry Potter stickers to it, and then I made it my own bullet. You know what I mean? Like I did that, and I just added my stickers. So yeah, if you can't afford the big fancy ones, make your own, man. Make your own.
Right.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, that's it for today. So we'll see you guys next week. And thanks for dropping by.
Have a magical day, y'all. Bye.
Bye.